My name is Steve Johnson, and I am very happy to welcome you to the grand final round of the 2016 Cabin Fever Debates. The Cabin Fever Debates are a tournament that we established in 2006, what is now 11 years ago. I had no idea how to sound right. We established this tournament in 2006 to give students who are at UAA but weren't active on the competitive Seawolf debate team an opportunity to experience what we believe to be the most powerful pedagogy available to students. It is a tournament that has literally taught hundreds of students over the years who might not otherwise have had a chance to get exposure to academic debating, the skills of informed citizenry and powerful advocacy. For that, we're very proud. So I'm very pleased to have you all here tonight for the 11th running of our final round of the Cabin Fever Debates. In this year's tournament, over 100 students registered. Any way we can turn that off? Anyone have control over the sound? Thank you. Mr. Matt, in this tournament, over 100 students registered to be part of this competition. And since the end of January, a field of 32 teams competed in 10 rounds, both preliminary and semifinal rounds, to winnow the field down to the 4 teams that you see before you tonight. So we are very pleased that one of these teams will walk away with our $1,000 cash prize, but all of these students are champions insofar as they've made it through the earlier stages of the competition, and also are entitled to prizes that we'll give to our finalists here this evening as well. A French author named Joseph Chabert once said, "It's better to debate a question without settling it than to settle a question without debating it." And I know that that's an old and a bit hackneyed quote, but I thought it was particularly appropriate for tonight's debate, because this is the second time in 6 years that we have debated in the final round of the Cabin Fever Debates whether or not the University of Alaska should permit guns in concealed carry on campus. It seems to be that we keep coming back to this issue. For some reason, we haven't yet settled it, so hopefully tonight's debate will make a greater contribution to the discourse that we're having about this. As we know, Senate Bill 174, introduced by Pete Kelly, would compel the University of Alaska to end its prohibition on weapons on campus. And as you can imagine, this proposal was met with a great deal of controversy. Do Alaskans have the right to carry guns on campus? Or would the mere presence of guns change the learning environment and prohibit the university from accomplishing its most basic goal of educating students? Hopefully tonight's debate will shed some light on those questions. Let me tell you a little bit about the debate that you're going to see tonight. The style of debate that we use in the Cabin Fever Debates is exactly the same format that we use when our Seawolf debaters go off into competitions around the nation and around the world. It's known as the British parliamentary style, also known as the style of debate that's used at the World Universities Debating Championships. Like any debate, it has 2 sides. A proposition side that argues that the motion is true and should be believed, and an opposition side that argues that the motion is false and should be rejected. But from there, the British parliamentary style is a bit different from what you might have seen before. For example, on the proposition side, as well as on the opposition side, there are actually 2 teams. There's the opening proposition team and the closing proposition team, and the opening and closing opposition teams as well. Each of these teams, while cooperating to advance or oppose the motion, ultimately is also competing against all 3 other teams in the round to be selected by our panel of judges as the most compelling team in the round. So even though we talk about proposing or rejecting the motion, we talk about siding with the proposition or the opposition, ultimately it's the quality of the argument that we're looking for, or that our panel of judges are looking for, when they're making a decision about which of these teams deserves to be crowned the champion of the 2016 Cabin Fever Debates. Each of these teams each of the debaters gets 1 7-minute speech during which to make their best argument. So we'll start with a speech from the proposition side, and then alternate back and forth between the proposition and the opposition until all 8 of the debaters have had a chance to make their best case. During those 7-minute speeches, you're going to hear a series of bells. They sound like this. You can hear one of those bells when 1 minute has elapsed in each speech, and when 1 minute remains in each of the speeches. In the intervening 5 minutes, points of information can be raised by the opposing side. A point of information is a brief interruption of the primary speaker's speech, so that the person who is challenging them can pose a question or make a brief argument. One thing to keep in mind, it's entirely at the discretion of the person holding the floor whether or not he or she will permit the opposing side to ask a point of information. So you might see as the debate unfolds, members of the opposition rising to ask points of information, but the speaker might not at that time want to take them. So they might say, not at this time, no thank you, or might simply just wave them down. They're not being rude, they're just managing their time effectively, and that's part of what the judge expects them to do. If they decide to allow that person to make a point of information, they relinquish the floor to them. That person has 10 to 15 seconds to ask their question or to make their brief argument. They sit back down. The primary speaker is expected to respond to that material in the course of his or her speech, continuing on with that until their 7 minutes has elapsed. Another feature of British parliamentary debate is that it loves audience interaction. The tradition that holds in the British parliamentary style of debating is that the audience pounds on something and says, here, here, modeling the sort of support that's given in the British You're familiar with that part of it. If there's an argument that you appreciate in the debate, if there's some point that the debaters make that you really want to support, by all means, comment on something and say, here, here. Gets the audience involved, and lets the debaters know that they're supported, and ultimately, I think it's better for the spirit of the debate to go back. You can talk all the time. That's good. I want to remind you of this about academic debate. The students do not choose the topic that they're going to debate, nor do they choose the side that they're going to represent. Quite literally, after our semifinal rounds on Tuesday night, when we decided which teams were going to advance to the final round, we picked positions out of a hat to assign those responsibilities to the debaters. So those 4 people on the proposition did not get to pick the side that they were going to debate, nor did the people on the opposition. I ask you to keep that in mind because the student's responsibility in an academic debate is to make the most vigorous defense of the position that's been assigned to them. It's not necessarily that they are expressing their personal convictions. So if at the end of the debate you want to approach a student and say, my God, I cannot believe you make an argument like that. Don't you realize how wrong you were? Understand that that may not be their personal conviction, that they're just doing the best job they can to represent the position that has been assigned to them. Speaking of after the debate, we will have a reception after our debate. So we're going to go through the debate. That'll take about 50 minutes for the debate to unfold. After the debate, we're going to take a break and let our panel of judges have some time to deliberate about their decision. While they're doing that, we've got a reception planned for you in the lobby outside. We invite you to stick around, talk with your neighbors and colleagues and friends about the debate that you just saw. Perhaps talk with the debaters. They might be interested in getting your feedback on what the debate looked like from your perspective in the audience. But once the judges have reached their decision, we'll invite everyone back in here into our award ceremony for the Cabin Fever debates, presenting prizes both to the semifinalist and finalist teams, as well as recognizing the top speaker in the tournament. The final thing I'll say about the format is this. You'll notice behind me on the screen a live poll that allows you to register your opinion about the motion before the debate begins. We do this in all of our public debates because it gives you a chance to express your opinion about what you feel with regard to the motion. So if you would have a cell phone, and you take it out now, you can text one of those 3 codes to the number 22333. And one of those codes corresponds with whether prior to the debate you agree with, disagree with, or are neutral on the motion. We'll do the same thing at the end of the debate, and that'll give us a sense of which side was more effective at compelling you with the arguments that they made. Let me introduce the teams now. There are 4 teams in this debate, as I've already mentioned. Speaking in the opening proposition is the team of Sarah Gray and Alex Jorgensen. Sarah is a freshman majoring in nursing, and Alex is a freshman majoring in psychology. Representing the opening opposition position are Neil Kingman and Sam Deptich. Neil is a freshman majoring in political science, and Sam is a junior majoring in history. In the closing proposition position are Jacob Tatum and Tim Williams. Jacob is a senior in history and political science, and Tim is a senior in political science. Finally, rounding out the closing opposition position is Ian Miller and Kristen Bohr. Ian is a senior in biology and Spanish, and Christian is a senior in mathematics. Right? Junior, sorry, trying to graduate before your time. I'm also very pleased to introduce our panel of judges tonight. We've got 5 terrific judges that are going to be judging for us tonight. A couple of them are champions in this very tournament that you're watching here. First with us is Judy Jessen, who was a 2013 champion of the Cabin Fever debates, and also asked me to relate to you that she's also the 2015 Alaska State record holder, as well as the 2005 U.S. University Debating Champion. So we give a round of applause to all of them. The last thing I'm going to do is introduce our terrific Speaker of the House, Henry Bevan. I'm going to turn the control of the House over to him and ask him to call the House to order on the motion that the Alaska State Legislature should compel the University of Alaska to permit concealed carry of weapons on campus. Henry, the House is yours.
Excellent. I now call this House to order on the topic of concealed carry at UAA, and we welcome the Prime Minister from the team Cranium Crushers, Ms. Sarah Gray, to speak on the topic. Hear, hear.
Hear, hear. Here, here.
We believe that the university is a different system in which you cannot treat it in the same way, and it is a part of the public sphere, in which case all individuals are protected to conceal carry in those areas.
Here, here.
This right to bear arms provides the ability for individuals to protect themselves from an individual with the intent of harming a mass amount of other people down to the basic level of self-defense. Now on to my second point. Concealed carry poses no threat beyond what is the status quo. People can already carry guns. Since guns are permitted in Alaska, we see that people already conceal carry in places like the movie theater and shopping malls. But we don't think twice about going to these areas thinking that the person next to us is concealed carrying. No, we take our family to these shopping malls. We go out on Saturdays to buy our groceries from Fred Meyer's, and we aren't afraid of being harmed by people who are concealed carrying. And we see that this would be the same effect at the University of Alaska. The common effect in relation to firearms is accidental discharge, suicide, and intentional gun violence. UAA is no different from those fears. They exist. But being on a college campus does not amplify any of those effects or create any different problems which already exist. Our model excludes the practical situations in which any unique harm would be created on college campus. And Mr. Speaker, today the primary importance of this debate is not on guns. It is on our rights. We are proud to propose.
Here, here.
We thank the Prime Minister for her speech, and we welcome the Leader of Opposition from the team, Fallacy Fallacy, Mr. Samuel Defton. Here, here.
Mr. Speaker, honorable panel, we feel that in this debate today, the most important issue is not about the right to bear arms, but it's about the right to objective safety. And we believe that is the most important issue in today's round, and that is what we want to focus on in this debate today. So first, I'm going to go through some deconstruction on the case the Prime Minister presented, and then present our own case. So, I'd first like to start off with talking about the right to bear arms enshrined in the U.S. Constitution and the federal Constitution. The first thing I'd like to bring up is one of the most recent Supreme Court cases about the right to bear arms, Heller versus D.C. Heller versus D.C. It disallowed the ability to do blanket bans on guns, but it said nothing about specific bans. As I brought up in my point of information, the state legislature bans guns in places like courthouses, elementary schools. It's still allowed to ban guns where they think places are safe, and we don't think that legislators are more important than students. We think they're and bringing up the point about they brought up about the APD and the UPD needing to be able to protect these people, we have to point out that first, it is right now currently up to the individual campuses to determine their gun policy. So if a rural campus wants to allow students to carry guns because there's no UPD or other police source that can regularly reach it, they're allowed to do that in the status quo. And also, a lot of these rural campuses are online anyway, so it's a very different issue than comparing to a large campus compared to like UAA. They're not exclusively online, but it's still a very different situation. So first, I'd like to bring up our first point that guns and university don't mix. Well, there's no specific right to feel safe enshrined anywhere. It is an understood right. People think they have a right to be safe. Many of our laws focus on keeping people safe. And when you're at university getting your education, you should feel safe. It is a responsibility of the university to provide the safe environment where people can pursue an education. Allowing concealed carry on campuses gives a few this perception of safety while taking it away from the many. We physical harm to the individual, but it does prove that there is significant harm in general, which does harm the learning environment. So I'd like to read out some numbers. In a survey of 600 universities and colleges around the U.S., 89% of campus police chiefs were opposed to concealed carry on campus. 95% of college presidents, 94% of college faculty, and 79% of students were also opposed. These 79% of students said they would not feel safe with concealed carry on campus. While they may not be physically harmed by it, they do not feel safe, and thus it is damaging to their environment.
I would like to put out that there are currently 150 college campuses across the United States that allow concealed carry.
I will think there are several major downsides also to these numbers that I'm talking about. First is the range rate. Several teachers and professors across the U.S. system have already said they would resign if SB 174 passes, which they are upholding as what they would like to see happen through this motion. Not right now. If people leave because of this, it will be harder to fill the positions. That means we'll have less teachers and quality faculty here at UAA. Less teachers means there's less classes offered, less upper division, less lower division, less classes all around, which means less students because students can't sign up for classes. Less students in classes means less money for the university. This is bad in the current budget crisis. Here on this point, students do not feel safe in an environment with concealed carry. Because if they have a bad learning environment, that means they will not learn well. You cannot learn well in a bad learning environment. Having a bad learning environment that is detrimental to students means that more students will choose to go out of state, continuing the overall brain drain that Alaska experiences. Less will choose to come to Alaska, and all of this leads to lower enrollment, which is very, very bad in the current fiscal crisis. I'd just like to point out, we even have evidence to back this up. Colorado and Utah are the two states that the legislature of those states passed similar laws to SB 174, requiring colleges to allow concealed carry on the campuses, and they showed significant enrollment drops. Since then, they have no, not this time. And so this downward trend that we could very easily see under SB 174 and concealed carry is allowed on campus, with less teachers, less students, that means less money for the university, which is critically bad and could send the university potentially into a debt spiral. We can't afford we can't get teachers, so less students come, which means the university has less money. No. And I'd like to just throw out one more point with money. So we have significant evidence that shows that implementing a policy of expanded carry allowed on campus is very detrimental money-wise to the university as well. The Arizona has estimated that if they were forced to allow concealed carry on campus, it would be a $13.3 million one-time expense, with $3.1 million every year in operating costs. Idaho costs $3.7 million a year to allow concealed carry on campus, and Texas estimated would cost $59 million over 6 years to allow concealed carry on campus. So all these are detrimental, not only to the students, not only to the faculty, but also to the university as a whole, on the issues of money, on the issues of enrollment. And in the end, it doesn't create a safe environment where people can go and get a good quality education they need. It's detrimental to
We thank the Leader of Opposition for his speech, and we welcome the Deputy Prime Minister from the team, Cranium Crushers, Alex Jorgensen. Cheers.
Before I begin my elaboration on my partner's points, I'd like to first deconstruct the arguments we've heard from opening opposition. Now, they brought up this study that enrollment has dropped in Colorado and Utah after they passed similar gun laws like we are discussing here today. But I just want to point out that correlation does not mean causation.
Hear, hear.
And they also brought up the point of preferencing, that we're preferencing people's rights over people's safety. Well, with that argument, you're also preferencing people who think guns are intrinsically bad over people who believe guns are not intrinsically bad and do not cause harm by themselves. So, like my partner said before, opposition is telling you that there's an increased risk to students on campus if we allow concealed carry. But this is simply not the case. I will get to that later. This is simply a perception of insecurity. And someone's temporary perception of insecurity does not trump someone's right given to them by the Alaska State Constitution. I have 4 main points I'd like to bring up. I'd first like to talk about under what circumstances a right can be abridged, why the circumstances to abridge a right are not met under the current model that we have proposed, and why there's no statistical evidence that suggests there's an enhanced threat of physical harm to students if we allow concealed carry, and the importance of safety on rural campuses. So, on to my first point. Under what circumstances can a right be abridged? That's basically, when can we prefer it's basically saying that we can prefer the public safety of the whole over an individual's right. Let's look at the First Amendment, because it's a very good example. So, under the First Amendment, you can say some nasty things about people that can get people really, really offended. But that right is still protected, because that was given to them underneath the Constitution of the United States. The situation changes if someone says, hey, I'm going to blow up the White House, or I'm going to murder you. That is a physical threat, and that causes negative externalities onto society as a whole. So as a justice system, we weigh the negative externalities that could be presented to society outweigh the possible negative consequences of overriding someone's right.
Hear, hear.
And under our current model, there is one significant threat that can be shown that allowing concealed carry on campus will increase the physical harm to students at the University of Alaska and the UA system as a whole.
Hear, hear.
Now, to go on to that, there are currently 150 college campuses around the United States that allow concealed carry licenses. You can conceal carry on those campuses. And there have been only recorded 4 negligent discharges of firearms. And a negligent discharge is when your pistol goes off and you didn't want it to go off. You weren't being attacked, it just went off. And of these 4 charges, 2 of them were teachers who were concealed carrying. And in both of these cases, the harm actually went to the person concealed carrying. If a gun goes off while you're concealed carrying, it's not going to shoot up the classroom. It's going to harm the individual.
Hear, hear.
So this does not pose an increased risk on other students. Onto other students, it only proposes a significant increase in physical harm on the students that are actually physically concealing carry. Yes.
Yeah, for instance, in those same campuses, like in Utah and Colorado, after they allowed open carry, rape rate went up 50%, violent crime went up 23%, and enrollment dropped.
Okay, like I said, correlation does not at all prove causation.
Hear, hear.
So, and like my partner said, there are 3 main elements to guns. There's the increased ability to cause a significant amount of damage in a very short period of time. There's the ability to someone commit suicide, and there's the ability of accidental discharge. Now, the model that my partner has wealthily proposed really reduces the side effects of the first 2. So first of all, someone coming in and breaking the law and simply murdering someone, that is not at all affected by this law. If someone wants to break the law, they will do it anyways because they're not thinking about the law. People typically will commit suicide in places where they live. They're not going to go out in the public square and just commit suicide in the middle of the room. That's not what we see happening. And this law, the bill that we have proposed, will limit concealed carry firearms out of residential areas, which we think is extremely important. And to go back to my main point again, this is all about a perception, the perception of fear. And like my partner said before, we already have the right to conceal carry in the state of Alaska. So in a movie theater, let's say there's 100 people in a movie theater, statistically, there is going to be 3 to 10 people that are concealed carrying a firearm while you are watching that movie. Have you ever thought about that? No. You have not, because that's the point, that's the nature of concealed carry. It is concealed. You do not know who is carrying. Now, a significant threat that is not beyond the status quo. There is a fear. Some people just don't like guns. Some people believe that guns are intrinsically bad. But this is just a simple perception of insecurity. And we cannot trump someone's perception of insecurity over a right that they are guaranteed under the Constitution of Alaska in Article 1. extension of the public square. People are allowed to come in and participate. And I'd also like to bring up a point about K-12 schools and why you can't bring them to the post office and all that, is because there's a significant increased threat. It's been proven there's a significant increased physical threat of harm if someone brings a gun. In schools, guns should not be around young children, not adults that don't know how to handle a gun, which university is full of adults, people who are responsible. Now, and also in legislators, people can have a nasty attitude towards the legislator and want to go and kill them. That's why we don't allow guns in the legislative office or any legislative building. So, at the end of the day, Mr. Speaker, the main crux of this debate is not about the fear of guns. It is about the perception of guns, and it is about rights over those perceptions. Thank you.
We thank the Deputy Prime Minister for his speech, and we welcome the Deputy Leader of Opposition from the team Fallacy, Neil Kahneman, to close the top half of the debate. Hear, hear.
Mr. Speaker, honorable panel, audience, we think it's kind of weird that the government's going to come up here, tell us that handguns are a right, self-defense is a right, but then we're going to limit it. But then limiting it isn't okay. We think that at some point in there they have to sacrifice one of those two things. Because we think if they want to affirm that it's a right, then it has to be universal. That they have to have it all or nothing. That they can't have regulations. That they can't say that people have some kind of inviolability that means that they have a right to self-defense, and then say further that people under 21 don't have that right to self-defense. Or that people don't have that right to self-defense when they're in their dorms. We think government bench has to do one of two things. Government bench either has to drop its entire notion that regulations are okay, and then say they have to have guns everywhere, because if it's a right, it has to be universal. Or alternatively, they can just say that it's not a right, and then they have to drop half of their case, because they're basing their entire case on handguns are a right, self-defense is a right, and that's that. So we don't buy that. We think one of two things has to happen, and either way, they have to lose the debate for that. So, moving on, I'm going to do some quick deconstruction, build on a few of the things my partner said, and then just give you some comparative analysis. Okay, so, alright, one thing they keep on pointing out, they say concealed carry on campus happen in these places. We say really bad things happen on those campuses, and they say, okay, it's probably not causation. It's probably not causation. It's probably correlation. But if all we see is we allowed guns, things got a hell of a lot worse there, and things didn't get worse anywhere else, what else can we call it? What else can we call it but causation at that point? I don't see anything else. Even if you don't buy that, the point is people at those universities still threatened to leave when that happened. People at those universities said less safe. For instance, when he told you 79% of students did not feel safe when handguns were allowed on campus. We think that does imply some kind of causation, especially when students say they don't feel safe and then continue to not enroll in those schools. I'm pretty sure that's causation. Alright, furthermore, they like to tell us that we're already safe. By allowing, guns on campus, we're not going to change anything. We think this is wrong in two ways. One, the U.S. has the highest rate of homicide in the developed world. Second, in 1995 and 2002, with over 21 million people on campuses and carrying largely banned on campus, there were 24 homicides on university campuses. 21 million people, 7 years, 24 homicides, compared to the rest of the U.S., where we have the worst rate of homicide in the entire world, but actually I'll take opening.
Homicides will not be prevented by any sort of law. That they're breaking the law. Laws will not stop homicides from happening.
We're here.
But under your conception of what's okay, so we can walk around with a gun, and the UPD can't do anything about it. But when we say we ban all handguns, the UPD can say, that guy's probably a threat, that guy's probably breaking the law, let's stop him before he shoots somebody. When you advocate for strong regulations like you are. Second, about campuses. They're a high-stress environment. Think about the demographics that are in college right now. It's people that were young when 9/11 going to give you an explanation of why, but I'll get that to you now. It's because when you allow guns on campus, it costs a hell of a lot more for insurance. Actually, I'm sorry, I should not have said that word. It costs a lot more money for insurance. It costs a lot more money to have the security necessary. You have to pay for gun lockers. Like he told you, it was going to cost $54 billion in the current fiscal crisis, where we're already losing $30 million next year. I don't think we can afford to pay the insurance costs for that. The policymakers, when they're figuring out what policies to enact, they don't think, let's talk about our fundamental rights first, because one, that doesn't even apply. We can totally restrict it in certain areas. Heller versus District of Columbia only does blanket bans across an entire area, like an entire state or something. But we're allowed to do that on a campus, okay? But
Before time.
yeah, before time.
Okay. First of all, I'd like to point out that the university is not a governing body and therefore cannot restrict people from the rights to bear arms.
Hear, hear.
No, they can't. Heller versus District of Columbia says, like Scalia literally wrote, we don't see why a blanket ban passes strict scrutiny. He didn't say, I don't see why any ban doesn't pass strict scrutiny. He said blanket bans. That's explicitly what the text of Heller versus District of Columbia says. All right, so we covered the brain drain. We covered that students feel less safe, and when they feel less safe, then they just don't feel like they get an education. So there's that. Yeah, there's looking back to the university, the Utah and Colorado, there was a definite increase in rape and violent crime. People stopped enrolling. Those are all bad things probably causation, probably. So now let's just do a quick comparative real quick. They're basing their entire case on the conception of rights, and somehow we would have this right to handgun. But look back to the double bind they gave you at the beginning of my speech. They either have to affirm that the regulations they gave you in the model have to go away because rights have to be universal if their conception of rights is true, or they have to say that they're not a right, and then half their case has to drop. One of those two things has to happen. We have to hear it coming out of the member of government. Otherwise, the entire opening government case makes no sense, is self-contradictory, and they have to lose for that. So that's the comparative. Also, the benefits, they don't get really any benefits aside from maybe some people feel safe. Like, what? Is someone going to stop a shooter? No, that's not happening. So quite frankly, when it costs a lot of money and really hurts the system, we don't see a reason to do it. So therefore, we stand proudly in opposition bench.
We thank the Deputy Leader of Opposition for closing the top half of this debate, and we welcome the member government from the Team D's, Mr. Jacob Tatum, to open the bottom half of the debate. Hear, hear.
Hear, hear.
Mr. Speaker, when considering this debate, our side of the House thinks that we should recognize the significant stigma, harmful stigma, that surrounds guns, and how this stigma creates a less safe environment at schools. We include this two ways. First, by showing that this harmful stigma actually makes the campus less safe, but also our second point of construction, that how ending the ban will create a safer UAA campus. But before I get into that, I'd like to start with some points of deconstruction. First, proposition said that they talked about the people should have the right to feel free. They mentioned that everyone has the right to feel free. How about the people? Perhaps they should consider that the reason people choose to conceal carry is for their own defense. They don't feel safe.
Hear, hear.
Consider that. Second, keep saying there must be causation because we see a rise or a lower enrollment. We simply reject that. There are far too many variables to say that there's resources, so many variables. Also, Neil mentioned cost and liability. Well, on our side, we think that this is an opportunity that the does not exist. So we think that it's safe to assume that people are already concealed carrying on campus.
Here, here.
Because this is prohibited, and they do this further saying, because this is prohibited, people don't talk about it. You obviously don't see it because it's concealed. However, they feel compelled to do this out of their own safety, for their own protection. Because these individuals are forced to act outside of the law, prohibition prevents people from wanting to have dialogue on how to carry and use guns properly. When a behavior is illegal, those who participate in that behavior are discouraged from discussing it openly. When concealed carry is legal, it's difficult for concealed carriers to reach out to others, to share with other concealed carriers, as well as the broader campus, about their security concerns, as well as they're not allowed to learn from each other about how we can create new norms when we're on a concealed carry campus, and also procedures for self-defense. Before I go, I'll take you.
So if we're in the process of cutting academic programs right now, why is this the setting that people need to be getting that information? Why not go to their local shooting range to get the information about how to shoot a gun?
Here, here.
But because this is a right, and we don't think that this will add more costs. That's part of the pushback, just to say, oh, there will be more costs because of liability. I've seen, obviously, you're at greater liability with your guys' model.
Here, here.
Also, concealed carry stigma makes UAA officers less safe. Alaska law requires an individual that is carrying a weapon to show it to a police officer when encountered. This means that a concealed carrier, when approached by an officer on campus, they are forced to reveal that they are breaking the law. This creates a dangerous situation for a variety of reasons. One, the carrier may feel uncomfortable because the tool of defense is considered contraband under this prohibition. Also, if an officer discovers illegal activity, he or she must confront the carrier, which necessarily exposes both actors to a degree of danger. Simply panic or flee or act violently because they're out of fear that they may be facing arrest. Not at this time. So concealed carry also makes victims of assault less safe, which kind of also addresses your concerns. Students are afraid to use a concealed weapon for self-defense when concealed carry is illegal. If someone's being sexually assaulted, I think we should give them the full legal protection to defend themselves, including concealed weapons. Students should not endure an assault for fear of being prosecuted for fighting back. We don't think that's right. For my second point, how ending the ban will create a safer UAA campus. By ensuring personal security, we create a broad. Ending the ban will create a safer UAA campus in two ways: by assuring personal security and also creating a broader sense of deterrent. So, one, by allowing concealed carry, we create a healthier dialogue of around self-defense. Without a ban, concealed carriers will feel comfortable meeting and discussing concerns with one another. This will allow them to establish new norms to help teach each other. Concealed carriers will also be allowed to associate together, form clubs and classes. Also, teach how to handle safety with firearms, as well as self-defense. We think that this will foster an environment that allows us to get rid of stigma and create a safer campus. Also, officers will be safer. Officers won't have to worry about a situation being escalated because of concealed carriers' legal fears. Officers will be able to know the concealed carriers community, and thereby it will be a much more healthier environment between campus people and the police officers. Also, victims of assault will be safer. When the university allows concealed carry on campus, it will be standing by victims of violence. These victims won't be afraid to fight back in a violent encounter. These victims will also be able to preserve their right to security without being afraid of the university prosecuting them for doing so. So, for all of these ban creates a harmful stigma, and two, how ending the ban will create a safer UAA campus. We're proud to
We thank the member of government for his arguments, and we welcome the member of opposition from the team Blues Brothers, Christian Bohr, to continue the arguments on his side. Hear, hear. Hear, hear.
Ladies and gentlemen, today I'd like to start with a little bit of deconstruction. First, I'd like to look at what open and propositions say. They talk about how concealed carry is not a problem in other environments, and so it should not be a problem in schools. The environments they brought up were places like movie theaters or shopping malls. I'd like to say that these environments are very different from the environment in which we live in on a university. In these environments, such as movie theaters, we're not coming into conflict with others. We're not having arguments about what we feel dear to our hearts. In school, we're told you're bad at something, so you got a bad grade, or maybe you're told by an advisor that, maybe you need to pick a different degree, or maybe you're just in a class where you have arguments with students who you're taking part in your education with. And we believe that because of this, school is more an environment closer related to a courtroom where ideas are being argued rather than a shopping center. And
You're here.
So you also said how now let's talk about the back half. They said that prohibition doesn't stop concealed carrying. Well, I'd like to say that if students have a problem with security, to the point where they feel that they need a gun, we need to address the problem of security. And I don't think that security is so the fact that you're saying that there's only negative public discourse in universities and not negative public discourse in anywhere is not based in reality.
Here.
So the University of Houston decided to take guns and allow them to be carried on campus. Deans told professors to be careful about discussing topics that were dangerous because teachers were starting to feel very, very uncertain about talking about something that may create a fight. And there's a gun in the room. An argument makes the system more volatile. So, thank you. You also said that it makes the job of cops on campus harder. I disagree with this because now, if we allow concealed carry, everybody on campus could be a potential threat to the cops. Now, not only do they have to worry about who may have a gun, now they have to worry about how many people in this room have a gun and could potentially, if I go up and confront them, activate. Okay, so first I'd like to move into my points of deconstruction. My points of construction. First, I'd like to say that safety isn't actually improved by allowing guns on campus, and that it's worsened. My second point is that this actually, by the Alaska State Legislature enacting this, we are threatening the sovereignty that is established by the University of Alaska. Now, first, no thank you, I haven't said anything. So I'd like to say that safety is not improved by guns, it's worsened. So, I believe that guns do go off accidentally. You did point out that at 2 of the 4 cases where guns were actually discharged, there was people who had the gun who were concealed carrying that got hurt. And we talk a lot about how correlation causation arguments can't be substantiated. I think you're trying to make a correlation causation argument. There's a correlation of people getting shot, but it doesn't mean that everybody that's going to shoot a gun is going to shoot themselves. There is the possibility of it hitting somebody else. Secondly, no thank you, I'd also like to point out that we train cops for a long period of time. We don't train people that would conceal carry weapons. Having a firearm is a very, very, very important responsibility, and it should be taken on with much care. And we don't believe that people who have earned a concealed carry permit have gone through the same training necessary to decide at a moment's notice whether this situation needs to be dealt with force or
Individuals are protected under these amendments to the state constitution and the federal constitution, and the only way to restrict that is either a compelling state interest or the least restrictive means, and the university does not do this.
You're here.
I'll get to your point later. So, I'd also like to say that the level of violence when we allow guns on campus is going to be increased because the threshold necessary in order to accomplish a crime is going to increase. If somebody has a gun and you want to steal something from them, you're going to need a gun
thank the member of opposition for his speech, and we welcome the government whip from the Team D's, Tim Williams, to close the government side of the debate. Hear, hear.
Hear, hear.
Ladies and gentlemen, what we have today is a debate on civil liberties and rights and the importance of the individual protection. Now, what I'm going to do today is I'm going to crystallize both top half and bottom half of the arguments. So what open and proposition is, they did a good job of explaining the nuances and caveats of this particular proposition, and namely that it is a constitutional right to bear arms and both federal and constitutional right to bear arms. Open opposition deconstructed with a little bit of Heller versus DC and nothing on a specific ban. But however, we return to the lower appellate courts after this decision in McDonald versus City of Chicago. This lower appellate courts applied to guarantee the right of states to bear their firearms. What it applies to states is that they did not have the authority to dismember or take away this right. And then they use our as the police of our nation, namely present and future instances of governance. We also talk about the brain drain. Individuals have the agency to move and leave whenever they want to. Just as a state like that, right? Their own safety. Other safety.
So you're saying that even though people have the right to move, we shouldn't try to encourage people and goods and money to stay in Alaska?
Firearms is an inherent commodity in itself. Alright, let's go back to the bottom half and how this coalesces into how the nature of rights flow into the social stigma that is presented, and thus apply our argument, or the main crux of this argument. Now, to begin with, the harmful stigma. The nature of concealed carry is that those weapons are concealed from the public's perception. Therefore, there is no way to count on whether or not individuals pack and heat, regardless of whether the law permits. So anyone in here can be illegally carrying a gun, but they're not going to be like, yo guys, I just found out it's illegal, I'm sorry. No one will do that.
Hear, hear.
People as well. The discourse regarding concealed carry is inherently negative, and that is due to the public perception of guns, as my partner stated, in terms of the stigmatization. The relationship between those that exercise this constitutional right and the place creates an unsafe environment for all concerned parties: the students, the public, and the police. So all involved parties have an inherent and involved process in terms of this discourse. By law, an individual who carries a concealed weapon is required to inform the officer of the safety between the two parties, regardless of whether or not we are on campus or off campus. Now, let me just break this down in terms of how this reaction will take place. Officer, this is the officer. Sir, concealed weapon. Yes, sir. I'm legally abiding by the constitutional state law. Officer, thank you for informing me. Now, I stopped you for this reason, and I'm asking this question to be for safety reasons for yourself and myself as well. So that's the inherent. So any argument that states, oh, we're gonna be afraid, the police officer gonna get shot on the block, that is just inherently not gonna happen. So regardless of whether or not there's still a lot of money. So there's why we should take the easier route. And it was for these reasons, in terms of and one last part. One last part of deconstruction. We chose 21 because 21 is a viable age in which people have attained the knowledge and education of what is right and what is wrong. Why do you basically prohibit voting to those under 18? Those who are 11 cannot and do not understand the role of government. This is a learned process. And for all these reasons, we have kind of proposed. And thank you very much.
Here.
We thank the government whip for closing the government side of this debate, and we welcome the last speaker, the opposition whip from the team Blues Brothers, Ian Miller.
There was a lot there in the last 2 minutes of that speech that I'm just still trying to wrap my head around. I'm going to start my time here with a number of points of deconstruction, both for the top half and the bottom half, and then I'm going to kind of summarize the debate as far as the opposition side is concerned. To begin with, a few points of deconstruction. We heard that, I believe, even opening government conceded that there are drugs and alcohol on campus. No one can deny that. We also all understand that some people's idea of college is to experiment and try new things. That leads to a lot more opportunities for underage drinking, underage drug use. Why should we be throwing a gun into the mix of that? We also have heard a number of times that people apparently have this risk, this fear of issues happening on campus. And I guess where I'm going to come from on that is, where do we... Sorry, guys, I'm not far enough yet. Sit down. Why do we feel the need that we need to actually do this on campus? And I know they're going to stand up and they've got some points, and we've heard them over and over and over again, but so you guys can hang off on actually doing those. We've heard that there's an increased threat when we go to places like the post office and going to the legislative building. Yeah. Just a second. Let me finish my point. I also am a little confused why discourse, we never said negative discourse on its own, but just discourse is an issue that is not also a dangerous situation. I think that tonight's event would be a very good example of that. You know, there's nothing that says that everyone in this room is going to agree with every statement that's said up here. I don't want to have the fear that someone's going to start shooting because they didn't like something that I said.
In our models, we've never addressed alcohol or drugs, and we know that would not be a problem because we are restricting it from residential areas.
Here.
Place that people are using alcohol and drugs on campus is in the dorms. That seems a little fishy to me. Sit down, man. So, and actually that kind of leads me into some of my summations while we're at it. So, the fact that there is that heightened alcohol use, the heightened drug use, and with people who are unfamiliar with both of those things, that's all leading to a greater risk for unsafe situations, leading to a more dangerous campus. You know, I'm going to give you an anecdotal example. The University of Utah, one of the schools that we've heard over and over legalize guns, they had a speaker last fall. The speaker was invited by a student group. The student group then started having some infighting, and it found out that the woman had some death threats against her. She felt, when she reported those death threats, the police on campus told her they had no ability to tell people without guns not to come to the event. The woman felt she had such fear that she didn't leave the airport in Denver, or in Salt Lake City, excuse me. So if we're really helping people, we shouldn't be scaring people from coming to our campus. That's not
Death threats have nothing to do with
in order for someone to die, there's usually a threat ahead of that. To continue some summation, we heard from the top half that people have the right to feel safe. I believe I just covered that pretty well. Not everyone's going to feel safe. No one on this side said that we need to ban guns outright, but we just don't feel that this is the time or the place that guns need to be in the public setting.
Here, here.
We also heard that, sit down guys, we also heard that it's harder to fill positions, and yes, we've heard correlation, causation all night long, we get the point. But that being said, this university's already cut over 100 teaching positions in the last 2 years. We don't need to add another issue to complicate filling those positions if they ever happen. I've kind of covered a little bit about making areas more dangerous. We've got lots of issues already with alcohol abuse, including on campus. Don't see that this is a place to really add that in. I'd like to kind of build on a point that my partner started with. The topic we're debating tonight, the first 4 words of it say that the Alaska State Legislature should require this. If we're going to hear a constitutional argument saying that the state of Alaska Constitution, the federal Constitution, both have the right to protect the guns, they also have the same right, based in Article 7 of said Constitution, that the university should be developing its own policies based on regions who are approved by the legislators. We don't need to be adding another layer of bureaucracy into the mix of things if we already have an organization that it's their sworn duty to make the policies that govern the university.
The UA Board of Regents does not have the authority to violate our rights.
Here, here.
But if the legislators and federal courts and heck, even the post office have the right to violate your rights, sit down. I also believe that the Board of Regents has the rights to coordinate the policies that govern the university system. Last time I checked, that's what the policy not at this time. No, thanks, guys. We're finished with the questions. So we also heard that people are still going to break the rules, even if there is a ban on concealed carry. Something that I'm a little confused on is that the reason we have rules is so people can be punished. And by having bans like this, by having policies against concealed or even open carry on college campuses, we're at least allowing an opportunity for people who want to willingly break those rules to be punished for those things. We've set a standard, regardless of who sets the standard, that there is a ban. That means you don't do something. If people are still going to do it, they get punished. That's the point of a rule. So even if people are going to go about and break the rule anyway, if we don't have a ban, then we don't have any way to punish them. So, and the last point, just because this one kind of irked me a little bit, I really don't think, and this is coming from someone who works in public safety, I don't think I've ever heard anyone ever say that an officer feels totally safe just because they know there is a gun there. That doesn't make any sense, guys.
Here, here.
So, we're proud to oppose this measure, and we really feel that this is not even something that should be discussed by the legislature at this point. Thank you.
Considering that most of these debaters have little or no experience whatsoever in debate prior to entering this debate contest, I think they certainly deserve our congratulations. I'm going to ask for some cooperation. First of all, if you cooperate by giving our panel of judges the opportunity to make their way out of the auditorium.
You want all ranks or just first?
That way they can get to work, and as they're getting to work, I can tell you some of the other things that you need to know. In order to draw this event to a close. First of all, the screen is making its way down, and as soon as it's down, another poll will present itself. This is our post-debate poll. So if you could, at this time,
see the argumentation as to why that right actually exists. Why do we have a right to self-defense? Why do we have that? Why do we have a right to bear arms? It comes back to self-defense. I'd like to see maybe possibly was up on the stage. What's that? The camera, you mean, breaking it down. So I was up on the stage. Chortles. In the announcements, I can get someone to text me. 8:37, and like you're wanting to leave now?
Well, I was trying to get out of here by like 8:45, 8:50.
Okay.
To be smart tonight.
Gotcha. Yeah.
I'll hand off the camera to someone so they can take pictures of all the.
Oh, this thing is